200 million euros. That is what the most expensive players at the 2026 World Cup are worth, and three different men share that exact price tag this summer. This video builds the most expensive starting 11 at the 2026 World Cup, a 4-3-3 made only of players who made their country's final squad, lined up from the goalkeeper forward to the most expensive front three ever sent to a World Cup. Lamine Yamal is in it at 18. Erling Haaland is finally in it. A teenager worth more than some entire squads anchors the defense. But the name that closes this lineup, the most expensive face in world football, I am keeping until the very last sentence. Miss the ending, and you miss the whole point. One quick ground rule. Every value you hear comes from Transfermarkt as of today, the 6th of June 2026, and where a figure moves week to week, I will say around or roughly rather than pretend I know it to the euro. Confirmed squads only. 11 shirts, the most expensive man for each one. Here is something strange about the most expensive goalkeeper alive. He is not at this World Cup. Gianluigi Donnarumma, the man Transfermarkt rates above every other keeper on the planet, is watching from home because Italy lost a playoff to Bosnia and missed a third straight tournament. So the most expensive goalkeeper you will actually see in North America wears the red of Portugal, and his name is Diogo Costa. Transfermarkt values him at around 40 million euros, the priciest pair of gloves in the competition, and the reason is that he does the full modern job. He sweeps behind his defense, he starts attacks with his feet, and when a match drifts toward the lottery of penalties, he becomes almost unbeatable. Take yourself back to Euro 2024, the round of 16, Portugal against Slovenia, the shootout. Costa saved all three penalties he faced, all three. No goalkeeper had ever done that in a shootout at a European Championship before or since. He earned that reputation behind a Porto side where clean sheets were routine, and at 26, he is only now entering a keeper's prime. At this World Cup, he is the long-term face of a Portugal team living through a strange goodbye because Cristiano Ronaldo, at 41, is almost certainly playing his last one. Costa is the calm beneath all that emotion. He started all 5 games in Qatar 4 years ago, and Portugal trust him to keep the back door shut while the famous names chase the headlines. But a goalkeeper, however expensive, can only do so much. The real money at this World Cup is spent further up the pitch, and it begins with the man directly in front of him on the right. Remember the coolest penalty of the last World Cup? Qatar, round of 16, Morocco against Spain, the whole tournament hanging on it, and a fullback strolls up and chips the ball softly down the middle while the goalkeeper dives away. That was Achraf Hakimi, knocking Spain out with a panenka against the country where he was born and raised. At right back, he is the most expensive defender in this 11 and one of the most expensive full-backs in the world, valued by Transfermarkt at around 80 million euros. What you pay for is a right back who plays like a winger. Blistering pace, real end product, and a trophy cabinet most attackers would envy. With Paris Saint-Germain, he has just won back-to-back Champions League titles, playing the full 120 minutes of the most recent final against Arsenal. Yet the moment that defines him is still that 2022 run, when Morocco became the first African and the first Arab nation ever to reach a World Cup semi-final, and Hakimi was the heartbeat of the whole thing down the right. He arrives now as Morocco's captain, 95 caps and counting, fresh off a thigh injury that frightened an entire country before he was past fit and named in the squad. Morocco opened their Group C campaign against 5-time champions Brazil, and almost everything they build flows through his side of the pitch. He is the most expensive man in this back four, but he is not the most expensive defender in this team. For that, we move into the center, and to a teenager who is worth more than players twice his age. He is 19 years old, and Transfermarkt already values him at around 80 million euros, level with defenders who have played in World Cup finals. Pau Cubarsí, the Barcelona center-back, is the most expensive teenage defender at this tournament and, by the market's reckoning, one of the most valuable defenders in the world, full stop. The price is about projection as much as it is about right now. He turned 19 in January, he has already played more than 125 times for Barcelona, and he defends with the unhurried calm of a man 10 years older. The passing out from the back, the reading of danger before it arrives, the refusal to ever look rushed, scouts see a decade of elite football ahead and price him accordingly. The comparisons to Gerard Piqué are not lazy either. It is the same line-breaking passing from the same shirt at the same club. For Spain, there is a small catch. He has only around 11 caps, and the reigning European champions are so deep in defense that his place is genuinely up for grabs. But do not be surprised if he starts Spain's opener against Cape Verde, because La Roja walk into this World Cup as one of the favorites, and they love to build their football through their youngest, coolest head. Standing beside him in this most expensive 11 is a defender from the very country Spain beat to that European crown, a Frenchman whose entire game can be summed up in a single word: calm. Watch William Saliba defend for 10 minutes and that is the word that stays with you. The Arsenal centre-back is valued by Transfermarkt at around 90 million euros, which at recent updates made him among the most expensive defenders heading to this World Cup. You are paying for a centre-back who barely fouls, almost never dives into a tackle, and still wins nearly everything in the air and on the ground. He has the pace to cover an entire backline on his own, and the composure to play out of trouble when a stadium is screaming for a clearance. He is the complete modern stopper, and he is the foundation of a France defense that reached the last World Cup final, the night Argentina edged them on penalties in one of the greatest finals the game has ever produced. France arrive among the favorites again, loaded with attacking talent that will grab every headline, and Saliba is the quiet insurance behind all of it. If France are going to win this tournament, a huge part of the reason will be that nobody scores past him cheaply. We have now covered the right and the center of this back four. Now to the left, where the most expensive fullback on that side has just spent a season shutting down the best wingers on earth. Picture the biggest club night of the season, a Champions League final, and the job of stopping the quickest, trickiest attacker on the planet falls to one left back. That has been the life of Nuno Mendes for Paris Saint-Germain, and it is why Transfermarkt now prices Portugal's left back at around 80 million euros, the most expensive in his position at this World Cup. He is exactly the profile the market falls in love with, barely into his 20s, electric in a foot race, secure in the tackle, and a genuine weapon overlapping into the final third. Paris Saint-Germain have won back-to-back Champions Leagues with him patrolling that flank, and the valuations have simply followed the medals. When the biggest names in world football line up on his wing, he tends to come out on top. For Portugal, he completes a back line that, on paper, is one of the most expensive at the entire tournament, and he is part of a remarkable group of Portuguese players forged together at Paris Saint-Germain. This is Portugal's emotional farewell to Ronaldo as well, and Mendes gives them the modern legs to match the old magic. That back four alone is worth a fortune. But the defenders, believe it or not, are the bargains of this team. Step into midfield and the numbers start to climb fast, beginning with the single most expensive midfielder at the whole World Cup. There is one player who makes Spain breathe, and the market knows it. Pedri, the Barcelona midfielder, is valued by Transfermarkt at around 150 million euros, which makes him the most expensive midfielder at this World Cup. He is not a sprinter, and he is not a goal machine. He is a metronome. He takes the ball under pressure, turns away from trouble as if the opponent were not there, and moves Spain up the pitch with passes that look obvious only after he has already played them. In a tournament full of athletes, Spain spend a fortune on a thinker. Cast back to 2022, when he was 19 and already starting every game for Spain at a World Cup, one of their best players on the field. Then came Euro 2024, where Spain were crowned champions of Europe, though Pedri's own run was cut short by a knee injury against Germany in the quarterfinal. Now, fit again? He is the engine of the reigning European champions and a real contender to lift the trophy in North America. When Spain are at their best, the simple truth is that you see a lot of Pedri everywhere on the pitch. And here is where I have to stop you for a second. Three players share the most expensive price tag at this entire World Cup, 200 million euros each, and every single one of them is still ahead of us, waiting in the attack. One of those three closes this lineup, and he is the most recognizable footballer alive. Keep watching, because the front three is where the money truly lives. You already know this next one. Jude Bellingham, the Real Madrid midfielder, takes his place in this 11 at a Transfermarkt value of around 140 million euros, and at his age, that figure is unlikely to sit still for long. He is the box-to-box dream made real. He defends, he drives forward with the ball glued to his feet, he arrives late in the penalty area, and he scores the goals that settle knockout games. England pay top money for a midfielder who can carry an entire team on his back for 90 minutes. He started every match for England at the 2022 World Cup as a teenager, scoring and assisting along the way, then joined Real Madrid and won La Liga and the Champions League in his very first season, scoring a run of late, decisive winners that made him the face of the club. This summer, he plays under Thomas Tuchel for an England side chasing a first World Cup since 1966, carrying the kind of expectation that has crushed golden generations before him. A patchy, injury-hit club season has done nothing to soften the price or the pressure. He is one of three midfielders in this most expensive 11. The next one cost almost exactly the same, and 5 years ago he was being sent back from England as a player a club decided it did not want. Rewind to 2021. A small Portuguese midfielder is on loan at Wolverhampton, plays a handful of Premier League games, and is shipped back because the club decides he is not worth keeping permanently. That player was Vitinha. Today, he is valued by Transfermarkt at around 140 million euros and is talked about as one of the finest midfielders on the planet. At Paris Saint-Germain, he became the brain of a team that won back-to-back Champions Leagues, the man who sets the tempo, breaks the lines with a single pass, and almost never gives the ball away. The market rewards control above almost everything, and nobody controls the rhythm of a match more quietly than he does. From a rejected loanee to a Ballon d'Or conversation in 5 short years is one of the great modern rises in the sport, and it happened in plain sight. For Portugal, he is the pulse in the center of the pitch, the link between that expensive defense and a frightening attack in a squad stacked with his Paris teammates. So that is your midfield, a Spaniard, an Englishman, and a Portuguese maestro, each one worth a small fortune. And yet, add all three of them together and you still do not reach the price of the man who plays on the right wing for Spain. It is time for the attack. 18 years old, 200 million euros. Read those two lines again because they belong to the same person. Lamine Yamal on the right wing for Spain is the joint most expensive player at the 2026 World Cup, and he is barely old enough to be treated as an adult in some of the cities he is about to light up. The valuation is not hype. He has already delivered back-to-back seasons for Barcelona. He was a decisive figure when Spain won Euro 2024 while still 16, and he finished second in the 2025 Ballon d'Or voting. The market is no longer paying for potential. It is paying for a Finnish superstar who happens to be a teenager. At those Euros, he became the youngest player ever to score in the tournament's history, a goal of pure nerve curled into the far corner against France in a semi-final. Now he leads Spain's attack into their opening match against Cape Verde as one of the favorites to win the entire thing, the face of the reigning European champions, and the most expensive teenager the sport has ever seen. He is one of 3 200 million euro players in this front line. The second one waited his whole career for this exact moment because 4 years ago, the most feared striker in the world was nowhere to be seen. Where was the most terrifying striker on earth during the last World Cup? Watching it. At home. Erling Haaland, leading the line in this 11, did not kick a single ball in Qatar because Norway did not qualify, which made him the most valuable player on the planet to miss an entire World Cup. He is valued by Transfermarkt at 200 million euros, level at the very top. And the reason is brutally simple. He scores goals at a rate the modern game has rarely witnessed, a machine of a center forward who turns half chances into certainties and punishes a single moment of hesitation. For Manchester City, he has rewritten scoring records almost as a matter of routine, season after season. But this is the part that matters most. Norway have not played at a World Cup since 1998, an entire generation of supporters who have never once seen their country at the biggest tournament of all. Now they walk in with the most expensive striker in the world, finally standing on the stage his talent always demanded. Picture the very first time Haaland walks out at a World Cup. The wait, the hunger, the price tag, all of it pointed straight at this summer. And yet, even he is not the name I promised you at the very start. There is one more 200 million euro player on the left of this attack, and he is the most famous footballer alive. Here he is. December 2022, a World Cup final is slipping away, France 2 goals down to Argentina with the trophy almost gone, and one man drags them back from the dead with a hat trick in the biggest game on the planet and still walks off a runner-up, beaten on penalties. That man is Kylian Mbappé, and he closes this most expensive 11 on the left of the attack. Transfermarkt values him at 200 million euros, joint top of the entire tournament, and here is the detail that makes the figure almost absurd. He joined Real Madrid for nothing, a free transfer, and is still worth as much as any footballer on earth. Searing pace, ice-cold finishing, and a big game instinct that borders on the unnatural. He won the World Cup as a teenager in 2018, scoring in the final itself. He scored a hat-trick in the next final and lost. No player alive carries this tournament's history in his boots the way he does. Now he leads a France side firmly among the favorites, chasing the one prize that has slipped from his grasp since 2018 and a private redemption for that night in Qatar. The most expensive name at the biggest tournament with a score to settle. That completes the 11. So there it is, the most expensive starting 11 at the 2026 World Cup, from the back to the front. Diogo Costa in goal, Achraf Hakimi at right back, Pau Cubarsí and William Saliba in the center, Nuno Mendes on the left, a midfield of Pedri, Jude Bellingham and Vitinha, and an attack of pure gold, Lamine Yamal, Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappé, 3 forwards worth 200 million euros each. Now I want your call. If you could keep only one of those 3 forwards for a single World Cup knockout game, who would it be, Yamal, Haaland, or Mbappe? Drop the name in the comments and tell me exactly why. If you enjoy lineups built like this, hit subscribe so the next one finds you, because coming up I am building the complete opposite, the cheapest, best value starting 11 at the 2026 World Cup, the bargains who could embarrass every superstar on this list. You will not want to miss who makes that team.